Oh, sorry guys, that was awkward. Um, couldn't get it started, and then it did, and so screwed up the beginning of this. This course is the Poolesville Presbyterian Church, Elgin Road here. A lot of people drive by this every day. We'll get a little bit further out. The little front part where the doors are was added later. The main building was actually built in the 1850s, and it was built with two members. Once they opened it, of course, others came. It actually, in August of 1863, ends up being pressed into service as a hospital, mostly because of wounded soldiers and sick soldiers passing through Poolesville en route to other places. They end up here. So you can get over here to the side. I'm assuming services have ended for today, otherwise this could be awkward. This plays a very prominent role in December 24th, 1862. So Poolesville saw fighting during what's called the first invasion, September 5th and 7th and 8th, which was the Confederates' first invasion, which ends at Antietam or Sharpsburg. There was operations, not so much in Poolesville, but at the mouth of the Monocacy in October of 1862, when a large part of the Confederate cavalry raided Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Then there were two little raids in Poolesville in November and December of 1862. And then you get the last fighting in Poolesville is really in July of 1864 as part of the Monocacy campaign. Now from time to time there's fights along White's Ford, especially along Edwards Ford and the ferry at Edwards Ferry, and Conrad, what was then called Conrad's Ferry. Those areas will see combat on and off again during the war as the front lines shift, and on more than one occasion the Potomac ends up being sort of the separator between the two armies. What happened here on December 14th, 1862 is Elijah White decides to conduct a raid here in Poolesville. A lot of White's men are actually from Poolesville. White himself had been born in Poolesville. He lived just across the river, over near where the ferry is now in Virginia. And so he realized and had heard, kept well informed by Southern sympathizers living in town, that the garrison at Poolesville had largely been withdrawn. So because of access to the fords and ferries, Poolesville itself is going to be held because of the signal station and the telegraph lines that are run here. So the telegraph lines are run from the various river crossings into the telegraph office at the old school in Poolesville, and we'll look at that site here in another film. So White decides to come and surround this building and to try and get these guys out of here. And what ends up happening is, so let's back up. It was an evening service at the Baptist church, right? They were building their house at the other end of town. They were building their church. And so until it was ready, they were meeting in the evening at the Presbyterian church. So the morning services would be the Presbyterians, and then in the evening the Baptists would use the same building. White knew this. White knew many of the Union soldiers would be in attendance here, and probably half to two-thirds of the little garrison in the town, which may have had 50 guys, were actually in this building. Now, as White comes into town, we don't have a lot of details, but a number of the members of the Union garrison in this church are actually captured trying to come out of the church. So they would have come out through the front door, which is now in that little bump out, and they would have made their way this way. Now they're going to make their way down towards town because the rest of the Union garrison are in the old original schoolhouse, and so they are going to come running out here, and they are going to try and get down this road. And as they do so, the Confederates are firing on them. And so there's a running fight between here and not quite the high school, trying to stop the trying to stop these guys. Most of the Union soldiers are going to be captured. Quite a number of them are shot. The only one guy, the commissary sergeant, was actually killed. And for some reason, my understanding was he was killed near the church building, though other accounts say he was killed near the schoolhouse building. While I'm here in front of the Presbyterian Church, the September 7th battle was largely fought behind us near this crossroads. So basically what had happened is the Confederates had pushed their small part of their army through on the 5th. They had driven off the Union Guards, as we talked about. On the 7th, they actually withdrew out of Poolesville, and they're moving towards Frederick. Well, they get a report that Union soldiers have actually occupied Poolesville, and Stuart, Jeb Stuart, the Confederate cavalry commander, wants to keep them further away from Lee's army. So he orders actually 2 brigades, some 6,000 cavalry, to move back into Poolesville. Initially, it's a very small little battle, and not a whole lot going on. But as the Confederates reoccupy the town, September 8th is going to be the scene of much larger fighting. And you're going to end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 casualties, counting the wounded. So what's going to happen is that the Confederates are going to